My message all the time is trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. You have everything you need to get where you want to go.
Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Branstetter, founder and podcast producer at MaxPodcasting, and you can reach me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. This is episode Heinz 157, and today's guest is Dawn Dickson-Akpoghene. She is the incredible founder of 7 businesses, at least 7 businesses, probably like 75 more. And she is most well known for creating the amazing companies Flat Out of Heels and PopCom. In Flat Out, she's literally created a vending machine for rollout flats for emergency shoe pain, especially after you've worn heels for hours and hours. And at PopCom is where she's creating that technology that goes behind the scenes to hook up vending machines of all sorts using facial recognition, machine learning, all sorts of super smart tech stuff. She's been featured in Forbes, Fortune, Entrepreneur, The Breakfast Club, many more exciting outlets. And in this interview, we talked everything from starting her businesses, scaling them, problem solving, and staying agile in the super competitive tech space. It is Dawn D.A. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with Dawn Dickson-Akpoghene, founder, inventor. You know her from Flat Out and PopCom, and she's one of Ohio's finest, which, is very close, near and dear to my heart. Dawn, thanks for joining. How you doing today?
Hey, Max. I'm amazing. Thank you for having me. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. You beat me to it. This is how I was planning to start off. OH.
IO.
There you go. And I know you got some ooey pooey ties. I actually went to IU, so sometimes I say OHIU as well. So
ooey pooey. I never heard anybody call that IUPUI.
Wait.
That's so funny.
Wait, but didn't you spend some time there?
I did. I went to an executive program for fundraising management, so they just called it IUPUI.
Oh, that's so much more difficult than ooey pooey.
Ooey pooey. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't quite make sense phonetically, but whatever. Ooey pooey is fun to say. There you go. See, you didn't know that I was going to be teaching you all sorts of acronyms today.
Definitely learned something.
Cool. So we can wrap up any minute. No, so really excited to get into your entrepreneurial journey, what you're up to today. To kick things off, pun intended with kick, let's talk about some sore feet. You have a closer relationship with sore feet than probably the average entrepreneur. When did you realize that sore feet was an actual pain point that you could start a business around?
Yeah, that was a good kickoff, Max. Very clever.
Thank you. It came from the soul. Get it?
Okay. So yes, all women who wear heels and those of our male friends who wear heels all know that heels really hurt. They're not made for comfort. And I mean, we just deal with it, right? Like since the beginning of women wearing heels, we just know it's an unbearable pain that we deal with. But in 2001, I mean, at this point I'm not gonna say my age, but I'm in my, I think, 20s. Spent a lot of time partying and hanging out and going to conferences and traveling in heels. I was ready for a new business idea. I'm an entrepreneur, obviously, now for 20 years, but at that point, I think I was in like year 9 or 10. I really actually prayed on it. Like, I want a new thing to do. I'm not inspired. I'd say about a week later, I was out hanging out with friends in South Beach in Miami, wearing heels, and my feet were literally on fire. It was like one of those really high, super high heel, 8 inches or whatever, 6 inches, super high heel.
I'm sore thinking about that.
Fire, it's burning, it's horrible. And that was when I got the aha moment, as Oprah would say. It's like, wait a minute, my feet are killing me. I want to take them off. I don't want to wear sneakers. I don't want to wear flip-flops. First of all, I'm out and I can't carry sneakers or flip-flops with me to change my shoes. How can I solve this problem when I'm out? I said, well, I can carry some flats in my purse. That's easy. Okay, but the flats need to be able to be compact so that I don't have to carry a huge bag. I said, well, what if they're rollable and very lightweight? This is all in my head, me having a full conversation. What if they're rollable and or foldable? Okay, that's a good idea. How are people going to get them? Because when their feet hurt the most, that's a pain point. They need to solve it right away. How can we get them to them right away? What delivers things right away? Aha, vending machine. So that was the idea. Sell shoes and vending machines that are portable, lightweight, that roll and fold for women to carry with them when they experience high heel pain. That was flat out a field.
Flat out. How long did that thought process or decision process take to kind of come up with the first prototypes for the vending machine?
I move very fast. It's a whole thing, right? Because I had to invent the shoe and the vending machine. So I started out with the shoe because you need the product before you need the distribution, right? So I said, let me figure out how to make my own shoe. I want to design my own style. I want it to be different than anything I've ever seen. And at the time, there was a small little listserv called Alibaba. Now it's not a small little listserv. Now it's a mega company.
Yeah, it's bigger than some planets, I think.
Sure it is. This time it was just a little Craigslist looking thing. I went on there and I found a manufacturer, several, and I got lucky because I didn't know anything. And sometimes not knowing anything can be helpful. I mean, sometimes it's a disaster. But in this case, I didn't know what I didn't know what I was up against. So I was blindly just getting stuff made and getting samples made in China. So that worked out. So the time from the idea, I got the idea February 2011, and by April, I had raised $10,000 to build my website, get the business started, and get the first samples. And by June, I was in business.
How much testing and learning was there in making sure that those samples you got, the flats that could like roll up, be actually usable? How much trying and failing was there until you got to some models that you were happy about?
For the beginning, I put out my MVP, which is the minimum viable product according to the lean startup methodology. I did the bare minimum just to see if people would even like it and buy it. Would people do this? So I did a small run, I think of like maybe 100 pairs. Put them on Facebook to my friends and said, would you guys buy these? You know, what do you think about them? Obviously, I had a website, but they're just a couple of styles. They weren't the best. I mean, version 1 was not the best. So after I sold out the first ones, I said, okay, people want to buy these, but they're kind of janky and not the best quality and the best they could be. So I went back to the drawing board, redid the shoe, and then did a whole grand opening or like relaunch. I think it was 2012. And that's when I introduced the red bottoms. And I said I wanted to make them stand out, and I want to make sure our soles are hard and also distinguishable from the other brands. And so making a hard red bottom is what really makes Flat Out stand apart from the rest. But that process took about 8 months to really come up with a product that we still have today. So that product is the product we've continued with.
And what was everyone's reaction around you? Like friends, family, those who you're kind of sampling or toying around this idea with, when you're like, forget traditional vending machines. We need a vending machine for actual shoes, like an emergency shoe situation. That's a bit of a tongue twister or foot twister. Emergency shoe situations.
High heel emergency.
There we go. What's the reaction when you're telling people about this?
They loved it. They were like, yes, I love this. I can't. Oh my gosh, my feet hurt. I need it. We need one in every nightclub in America. We need one in every airport in America. We need one in every train station. That was the feedback.
So you had the idea there for Flat Out and kind of the early days testing and learning of that. But obviously, vending machines, having some sort of delivery device like this requires a ton of technology. So I'd love to get into PopCom. And it's really interesting if you look at your background. If you look at kind of your LinkedIn, you'll notice that you started Flat Out and then, within a year or so later, PopCom. Where'd you even start with the technology side of things?
Quick mention that my background is technology. I went to school for IT in 2000. So I have a long, everything I've done has always been technology enabled, even Flat Out, because e-commerce is technology enabled and we use marketing and things. So the tech was always in my head. Like I always think about everything that I do. And now I've started 7 businesses. I always think, how can I use technology to really make this better? So that said, I knew that technology had to be a component. I just didn't know how deep. Initially, it was just a matter of, okay, we just need to be able to send digital receipts. And this is the basic technology that there was. Flat Out was literally going to be a company that sold shoes out of vending machines and online and in stores. It was a very, very difficult process for me to find someone to build the machines for me. The first machines that I built in 2012, they did not work at all. They did not have any software on them to allow the machines to accept payments digitally, so credit cards. So my first thing that I wanted to do with tech was make vending machines take credit cards and send emails. It sounds basic, but this is like how archaic they really were. I had raised at this point about $250,000 for Flat Out as a business, and I'm finding that trying to figure out the distribution channel of vending and losing money on building machines that were not working was draining my company, and it just wasn't a good look for the investors who actually invested in the shoe business and not really into building vending machines and figuring this out. So I decided to separate the companies and say, I'm going to create a whole nother company that focuses on creating distribution channels through automated retail for retail products in general, not just Flat Out. Then Flat Out can be my customer, but I could raise money to solve this problem, which is essentially making vending machines smarter and able to take digital payments. They only took cash back then. Less than 5% of vending machines took credit cards at this time. So I had to start PopCom so that I could create a company that would develop hardware and software to allow retailers to sell products in vending machines while collecting the data that I needed, like email addresses, like sending receipts, like understanding conversion rates and things like that. So the whole while I want to sell my shoes as a retailer, but the big problem that other retailers face is really distribution. That's where the tech kicks in, and that's where I ended up being the CEO and founder of two companies at the same time, which was definitely a disaster at first.
It's a storybook start to an entrepreneurship chapter, but I don't think too many people have started a company and then started a customer for that company at the same time. So it's really cool you did that. The technology part is so cool when you think about coming up with that technology or tweaking it to find out what works. There was obviously tons and tons of research that was involved. What did the research end look like at the start when you're kind of doing the exploration of, okay, what exact technology do we need to make this a success and make this applicable for a number of different types of products?
The main thing that I've thought about is, what do retailers need in order to grow their businesses and manage their business? For me at the time, I'm using Shopify, which I love, to manage my business across the board, even on doing pop-up shops and selling online. I like Shopify for many things that they have. I like Google Analytics because you can understand your conversion rates, you can understand how long they're on your site, if they're a repeat customer, and all these metrics. But then when it came to vending, there were no metrics. So I had to approach it from, working backwards and say, what needs to happen? Okay, we need to know how many people walk by the machine. Okay, that would be helpful. We need to be able to give them a receipt. Okay, we want to be able to thank them and give them and remarket them for other products. Okay, we want to have a better understanding of who our customers are and to be able to remarket and retarget them. Then I go to the how. What technology exists that can allow a vending machine to collect information the way Google Analytics does? Then I realized, after spending about a year or two researching the existing offerings from software in the industry, I realized there was no solution. And that's when I had to create a custom software solution. This was in 2016 that I realized there was no software. And then I set out to build this tech company to then solve. And what we realized was we're going to need to integrate facial recognition, i.e. facial detection, and machine learning to really be able to have an understanding and collect the data that they need. So that is how I ended up starting a company that's facial recognition and machine learning.
And those are two fascinating areas. Not everybody has even a great understanding of what those mean. I mean, I'm very much amateur in those areas. Obviously, one means recognizing faces and two means machines learning. That's my expert definition. But those are two different areas that requires a ton of work to create some awesome products and services out of. What was involved in building out your team and building out PopCom from a scalable company standpoint?
Wow. So again, remember, I'm the CEO of two companies at one time and the solo founder, raising money for both, building teams for both, running both. It was very, very, very hard and difficult and challenging. And it was very difficult, of course, to find a team if you don't have money. So I had to raise money. So it took a long time. I started the company in 2011 for Flat Out. It took me about 2 years to get a team that was really, helped us to grow and scale. And the teams changed. For PopCom, which is a much larger undertaking, much larger problem, and a larger business overall, it wasn't until I went through Techstars Technology Accelerator, that I was able to deeply understand what I was building, the kind of people that I needed to hire, the people I needed around me. And that's always changing based on the milestones. So to answer your question, building a team definitely was the most challenging thing. It continues to be. Like, human resources, I feel like, is the hardest part of being an entrepreneur. But your needs and the people you need, it changes a lot. So the people you start with may not be the people you scale with. So it's just a matter of identifying what you need at the time. And that's how I always operate. So now at this point, we have, I think, 8 full-time and 6 part-time. It changes as the needs of the business change. We're looking now to bring on more people as we're moving into a new phase. And I just got off the phone with the CEO of Flat Out, which I'm no longer the CEO of Flat Out. And the CEO of Flat Out is going through a whole rebrand and a whole change as well, and bring on a new team. It's constantly evolving all the time. You're always hiring and you're always raising.
And you mentioned at the start how fast you move. It's like you can see in how you're building out your teams and the different kind of chapters of the business how important it is to stay agile. And you can never really get complacent there. And when you talk about crowdfunding, if you kind of look at your record of crowdfunding, you've literally set some records for kind of being early in the space. And first, see if I get this right, the one of the biggest rounds of STO, secure token offering. Did I get that right?
First female founder to raise over $1 million in a secure token offering, and also the first female founder to raise over $1 million just in a general Reg CF.
That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, no, you did great. But so cool how much you raised, and also kind of how much of a trailblazer in the space. What do you think worked so well and helped you actually raise that amount in kind of this newer territory?
I think that it was my network that I built over, at that point, 15 years as an entrepreneur, that have successful businesses that are doing well. All the companies that I started, except for the very first one I started, are still in business. So I have 6 companies that are in business today. My track record, I was credible. I was also very, very engaged and involved in, like, just the community overall. I had a lot of visibility, a lot of press. So that played a role in it. Not to even mention that I have an amazing product. I have a patent on the vending machine that I invented. I have, a phenomenal team. Those are just icing on the cake when they get to the page. But what brought people, I think, to even click on it was the community that I built, which is so important as an entrepreneur to do that as soon as possible and early.
And how did you build that community?
A lot of ways. Of course, you grow your network as an entrepreneur and a business person by going to conferences and events and being very engaged in the space. I do a lot of industry things. I definitely am a thought leader in the space for automated retail. I was definitely heavily involved in just the fashion space in the early years of Flat Out. Now, like I said, the CEO does that now, but being everywhere. Anytime there's a meetup or an event or a conference in the industry, I'm there. I'm showing up, I'm in the room, and that's how you get information, you get contact, people, you get credibility. That's how you do that. And then when I met people at conferences over these years now 20, still to this day, when I meet them, I connect with them on LinkedIn, take their card they give me, or they share their emails. I put them on my email list, and I send out email updates to let people know what I'm doing and what I'm working on. And that's how I kept them engaged even before I was raising money or asking for anything. So when I did come to ask for something, they were already used to hearing from me, and they already knew what I was up to. So the important thing is to post online a lot, let people know what you're doing, talk about your success, talk about your challenges, be open, be out there, and then people can become familiar with you as a business person, and that's how you build that trust even with strangers.
I love it. That it doesn't matter like what line of business you're in or kind of what stage of your entrepreneurship journey. If you can lean on your network for support and your network can be there for you kind of every part of the journey, it's amazing like how much that can propel you forward. So now I have a very difficult bait and switch question for you. Besides building your network and leveraging your network, what do you think is the number one reason that these two companies we're talking about have been able to grow and raise money the way they have?
It came down to marketing at the end of the day, marketing strategy.
What's one strategy you can share that really, really resonate with people?
Facebook ads to raise money. Facebook ads are very helpful. It was very helpful. So combined with my email list, my community, and Facebook ads, that was how we did it. I don't want to say, I mean, obviously my very big media appearances help, but that's not something everyone can have access to.
I mean, that's all before this is even released. So, I mean, you can't really count that, right?
That's true. I guess. I mean, but I was on MSNBC, CNBC, all these things. I mean, for years I've been on a lot of things. So that helps, right? That kind of visibility, those kind of large platforms, Forbes and Fortune and Entrepreneur and Inc. magazine, these things were happening for years. Now they're more, obviously, but even in the beginning, I had a lot of visibility, and the campaign really went viral after my Breakfast Club interview. But
yeah,
we did not. I've worked with several companies. I've coached several companies to raise millions, and everyone did not have the visibility as I do. So that's not the reason. It really comes down to your ad strategy and being able to advertise where your customers or where your target investors are. For me, it was Facebook. For someone else, it could be YouTube or TikTok. You just have to know where are the people that resonate with you. Go find them. And only you know where they are.
Breakfast Club, that's a huge deal. So cool. And you've had kind of multiple experiences, interviews on there. How was your experience on the Breakfast Club and the fallout, kind of the virality? That word is not easy to say. The fallout afterwards compared to kind of what you expected going in?
After the interview, after how it went, I thought it would really be a hit because of how the conversation flowed. When I first went into the interview, I didn't know what it was going to be because they don't tell you what you're going to talk about. You just sit down.
That's the same thing they said to me. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, hope they ask me the questions so I can say the things that I want to say. But then also I did go to school for journalism, so I know how to kind of guide and get things that I want out there. The interview went really well. I was the first one to do this. People never heard of a STO and they never heard of crowdfunding. And I think that's why it really took off, because it was something new, and the message of giving everyday people an opportunity to invest in companies at a pre-IPO stage and get an opportunity to get in on the big deals before they, like, that resonated with people a lot, because we all know we're left out of these deals. That's what made people go ahead and invest, share it, and go viral. And just, I mean, it was all over the place. So that was the people. That wasn't even me. I was very surprised at how people took to it. And then they really turned me into this person that they looked at. It was just interesting. It's like, oh gosh, I have some fans now. What's going on? It was just like really cool. But at the same time, it was like, wow, I feel like a lot of people understand me.
Yeah. It was like a perfect formula of like really great quality content, quality interview, and so many things that you can learn from it, but also like the timing of it was perfect and kind of the message you were getting across. So iconic interviews like that happen when things kind of just line up the right way. And next thing you know, like it can literally turn into like financial benefits or literally investors in your business. So that's I have chills thinking about that. And my chills are multiplying. If you want to do an interview yourself that creates some magic, you want to be the host of that interview and tie it back to your brand, maybe through a podcast per se, I have your back. I'm here to help you out. I know both the podcast hosting side and the podcast production side. So I can help you get set up with all the behind the scenes stuff on the back end, on the technical side, And I can give you some pointers from interviewing more than a few people. We'll call it like a few plus 2 or 3 more. Yeah. If you are interested in getting help with your podcast on the production side and might want some hosting tips as well, email me at max@maxpodcasting.com. I will help you save time with your high-quality podcast and make that magic. Now, back to Dawn and Susan. Susan. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get to a fan favorite segment called the Wild Business Shoutout of the Week.
The Wild Business Shoutout of the Week!
Wild Business Shoutout of the Week is where we talk about an ad or a creative marketing campaign that caught our attention. Zillow Susan. You mind sharing what stood out to you about that commercial?
Yeah, so I really like that commercial by Zillow called The Susans, because it's really like a woman named Susan. She's looking to buy a house. She's presenting the house that she wants to buy to a whole bunch of versions of herself, all these different Susans. So it's like doubtful Susan, or skeptical Susan, or excited Susan, or help, like all these different parts. And it resonated with me. I thought it was really cool because it made me think about all the decision-making process that we go through as a person before we decide to buy anything, right? Not just a house, but anything. And you want to appeal as a retailer or somebody selling something. Obviously, you want to appeal to the person that's going to make that purchase. So that was really good for them to highlight, like they found the person in them that was going to buy the product, if that makes any sense at all. So like one of the Susans was like, no. And then the other one was like, well, yeah, we need it. So I just thought it was a really cool marketing idea to make us realize, like, we make a lot of decisions, lots of thoughts that go into that decision. And there's many versions of us that could have a different perspective. But I like how in the commercial, the winner was obviously buying the product. And I just felt like it's creative, and I would actually use that approach in a commercial or something for one of my companies.
How many Susans were? No, I'm just kidding.
There's a whole table full of them. It was so many.
It was a lot. It was, they needed a Susan to count all the Susans, I think. It was so unique and eye-catching. I think sometimes it takes like literally seeing like, it's almost like clones of a person, or literally seeing something that's just so out of the ordinary to catch your eye, catch your attention in the first place. But as you pointed out, there's a great message behind it. And like that underlying message is what actually can make it an effective ad, and something that you like react to and share to, you know, your husband or on a podcast, or spread that word of mouth that is like so hard to get unless you're on the Breakfast Club. Has it impacted how you've thought about Zillow as a company since you've seen it?
I thought it was creative. I was like, oh, they have some good creative people. I actually like Zillow. I use it. It just made me feel like, you know, they're creative. I see a lot of ads that are just dumb, and I'm like, who works for them? This is dumb to me.
Oh, that's usually me, probably.
This one, I was like, oh, this is smart. Like, it was just cool and creative. So it makes me look at Zillow as a more innovative and out of the box type of company for them to push this.
And out of the Susan. Or me. Yeah. Okay.
No.
Enough Susan jokes. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Okay.
All right, let's get wild. Think back to your OSU days. What was your favorite restaurant on campus?
BW3s.
Okay. All right, that's pretty universal. Wait, so what was your favorite sauce flavor then?
I don't eat chicken anymore, by the way. It's been like literally 17 years. So back then when I ate chicken, I used to like the honey garlic type of flavor.
Ooh. What is a quirk you have? Quirk about your personality. Maybe your husband, family, somebody calls you out for it. It's a little bit quirky, but it's who you are. No reason to change it.
Okay, this is stupid, but this is true. I am like a little kid, and I do not go to the bathroom until I'm about to pee on myself, and I run to the bathroom.
Oh my God. It's always last minute?
Every time. And he's like, why do you do this? Why do you wait until you're about to pee on yourself to go to the bathroom? Because I'm usually busy, and I don't want to get up, and I don't want to have to walk or stop doing what I'm doing. And so I just don't go to the bathroom. And it's really stupid.
Oh my God. I've been there before.
That's quirky. Yeah. Like, I act like a little kid, and when you see me running through the house, you know what's going on.
Probably setting all sorts of records for 40 times to the bathroom. What is something that surprised you about Techstars?
That's a good one. When I went to Techstars, the first thing that surprised me was like how few Black people were in it ever. Now it's a lot more, but I went in 2017. Then in hindsight, when I learned, I was surprised that they don't teach more and teach us more about how to be smart CEOs and really financial, the cap table, the legal, the structural side. And I know it's like a startup program, but I feel like a lot of those early term sheets founders sign when they don't have the education that they need to understand about these term sheets. So I think I'm surprised about a lot of the deals that they let founders get into that are not beneficial to them.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like lots of equity given up early.
Yeah, just not, and doing things like doing a whole bunch of convertible notes or safes, not understanding that when you hold discounts to the side, those are held on your cap table. So there's just a lot of things like that.
You've started several businesses, you've invented products. What has allowed you to keep coming up with solutions like this?
I'm a real problem solver. Like, I'm really good at getting businesses started, getting them set up, finding product market fit, and getting them in the market. I'm still working on strengthening my ability to scale them really, really big. I create businesses that generate good money, millions, but I'm really still focusing on like the big, big, big business, which I believe PopCom is headed to be.
Well, Dawn, if you weren't spending so much time running to the bathroom, I mean, just think of the possibilities.
No, I'm running to the bathroom because I'm spending time working and I'm not spending any time doing things like using the bathroom. It's wasting my time, basically. I need to be locked in.
Using the bathroom, scaling, it's all in the same bucket.
Yeah.
We can literally bucket. And then last one, what is the biggest way that your studies of journalism have paid off for you?
Wow. I mean, my communication skills, my comfort of speaking to crowds and groups, and my ability to write. I'm a strong writer. And then now I never knew it's crazy because I want to be an on-air personality. That's why I went to school for journalism. I am kind of an on-air personality in a way because I do so many interviews and I talk so much that it prepared me to be able to do what I do now, is to be the face of the business.
That's awesome. And I'm sure this will happen, but I'm envisioning kind of your media page at the top. It's got kind of like two hero images. One is the Breakfast Club and one is your experience on Wild Business Growth Podcast. So we've come really full circle.
Like, if somebody asked me what was the biggest thing you've ever done and the thing you're most proud of, I would definitely say interviewing with Max is the highlight of my career.
Thank you. Can you say that one more time so we get... No, I'm just kidding. Dawn, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'm crying and blushing and holding in pee now, so thank you. But
you're ridiculous.
Really, yeah, I am. Really appreciate your time and your stories, your lessons. Where is the best place for people to connect with you and learn more about what you're up to?
Yeah, they can find me on social media. I'm Dawn Dickson-Akpoghene because I'm recently married, but I'm Dawn Dickson, Dickson, on all social media. I have a lot of content that I share on Twitter, LinkedIn, and my Medium blog. So if you want information, if you're curious about, more information about crowdfunding, I have a whole crowdfunding resource on my blog. If you're interested in hearing about more of my journey, I have lots of videos and things on YouTube. And then if you want to talk to me, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn because I do reply.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dawn. Last thing, final thoughts, stage is yours. Just whatever message you want to leave. Send us home here.
My message all the time is trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. You have everything you need to get where you want to go, and just be patient with yourself and don't compare yourself to anyone else. Your journey is unique and you got this.
And OH.
I
owe you a big thank you. Thank you so much, Dawn, for sharing your tips, your stories, your amazing company's problem-solving strategies, and of course, your love for the best state of all time. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning in to another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to follow the Wild Business Growth Podcast on your favorite app and tell a friend about the podcast. You can also find us on Good Pods. And for any help with podcast production, you can learn more at MaxPodcasting.com. Until next time, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!